Welcome to HFY Stories. Please subscribe to the channel. Your one click means the world to me. The stabilizer field hummed around Vexthorne Salakite's arm, and Dr. Helen was counting fractures like she didn't believe her own scanner. 3 breaks through the support structure. 1 clean snap at the primary joint. She'd patched mining injuries, lab accidents, a boy who once fell into an accelerator housing and walked out laughing. She had never seen a Salakite's hand ruined by touching skin. "Explain this to me," she said, still watching the display. "How does hitting someone a fifth your mass do this to you?" "I didn't do anything to myself." Vexthorne's hide had gone pale at the knuckles. "She did something." "She stood still and ate cake," said Security Chief Brontel from the doorway, 6 legs planted, sensory organs twitching somewhere between disbelief and quiet enjoyment. "I've watched the footage 9 times. That's the whole trick." 4 days earlier, nobody at Krathic Station Academy had known what a human skull could do. Cassidy Morgan was 3 weeks into her exchange term, tray in hand, when Vexthorne decided the last piece of chocolate cake belonged to him because he was 8 feet of grey-blue muscle raised on triple gravity, and she was not. She'd reached it first. She said so. It should have ended there, a forgettable argument between a girl from nowhere anyone had heard of and a boy who never needed to hear the word no. He shoved her, not hard, not by his standards, just the backhand he used on smaller students who forgot their place. She didn't move. She turned and looked at him with nothing on her face for him to push against, and that absence unsettled him enough that he reached again, meaning to physically relocate her. His hand met the side of her head instead. The crack silenced 60 conversations. Students from a dozen worlds froze mid-bite, waiting for the soft thing to fold the way soft things folded. Cassidy's head tipped a few degrees. She rolled her neck once, straightened, and looked at him the way a bulkhead looks at whatever just ran into it. He felt the throb before the pain caught up to it. "You'll want that looked at," she said, and finished her bite. "Bone doesn't forgive much, even yours." She walked off and left him holding his ruined hand in front of 300 witnesses. By the time Dr. Helen finished her scans, half the station had seen the clip. Pipperizer, one of Vexthorne's own circle, was the one who caught the discrepancy in the registry. Earth had been logged as Class 7 in orientation packets. The real classification, buried under diplomatic softening nobody had bothered to check, put it at Class 12. Same tier as a world with acid rain and open volcanism. Same tier as places that ate colonies. "They rounded it down," Pipperizer said, staring at her data pad like it had lied to her personally. "For the treaty, for optics. Nobody told us what we actually let in." Word outran any official statement. Professor Kelvin recalculated force equations mid-lecture and turned a color his students had never seen on him. Headmaster Quilrex took a call from the Salakite matriarch that ran 40 furious minutes and ended with her accusing the Academy of favoring an upstart species from a backwater world. Quilrex, on his 6th replay of the footage, told her plainly that her son had struck first, struck twice, and lost both times to a girl who never raised her hands. The connection died hard enough to trip the console's overload guard. The hearing convened in the Grand Forum 2 days later, packed past capacity, because nothing drew a crowd like arrogance meeting consequence in public. Vexthorne sat with 2 Coraxian barristers who had never lost a case, and for the first time looked unsure the streak would hold. Cassidy sat alone with a drink labeled coffee and the expression of someone with better places to be. The barristers opened strong, mutual altercation, cultural misunderstanding, dwelling on the shattered hand like it proved something. Then Brontel ran the footage at full resolution, 3 angles, nothing left to argue with. The forum watched Vexthorne strike a girl who did nothing but stand in the space his fist occupied. It was the questioning, after that, broke the room open. "You're asking this panel to believe," the lead barrister said, voice climbing, "that you, a human, could have injured my client if you'd chosen to." Cassidy set down her cup. "I'm telling you I didn't want to. There's a difference." She looked past him to Vexthorne, to the cast holding his hand together. "You want to know why you're not in a regeneration tank right now? Because I decided cake wasn't worth it. That was the whole calculation, not fear, math. That's absurd, the barrister said. A species with no natural armor, no claws. We didn't need claws. Another voice from the gallery, James Chen, on his feet before anyone called on him. You want to understand what we are, look at what we come from. A world that tried to kill every one of us before we were old enough to remember it trying. We didn't win by being bigger. We won by not stopping. Ever. That's not a threat. That's just what's left when everything else got weeded out. The forum had gone silent enough to hear the air recycler's cycle. He hit her expecting her to break. She didn't, because breaking wasn't ever really on the menu for us. Vexthorne's cast-bound hand curled against his chest. Something in his face wasn't arrogance anymore. It was closer to the look of a person watching a wall they'd always trusted turn out to be a cliff edge. Quillrex let the silence hold before he spoke. Does the defense have anything further? The barristers conferred briefly and had nothing. There was nothing to have. A boy had struck first, twice, against a girl who'd done nothing but exist where his hand landed, and physics had settled the rest without needing a verdict. It came down 48 hours later, reprimand, suspension, a public apology delivered from the same podium where he'd been humiliated. Vexthorne read it in a voice with none of the weight he used to carry into rooms. I made assumptions instead of learning facts. I struck someone because I believed size decided outcomes. I was wrong, and I'm accountable for that. Cassidy, front row because attendance was mandatory, said only, accepted. Don't do it twice. And that was the end of it publicly. The real cost landed quieter. His circle scattered within the week, unwilling to be associated with the living cautionary tale he'd become. He ate alone near the kitchens now, working off his hours, and kept his eyes down when human students passed. The academy rewrote its intake files inside a month. No more softened classifications, no more diplomatic rounding. A new course went up on Deathworld biology, taught, against his protests, by Professor Kelvin. Physics is why their bones don't give, Quillrex told him. Physics is exactly your subject. 6 weeks out, the staring had mostly faded. Cassidy sat again at the same cafeteria table, data pad open to notes on silicate cell structure, a fresh slice of chocolate cake on her tray. Nobody questioned whose it was this time. Pipperizer dropped into the seat across from her, scrolling through survey data for the new course. I keep thinking about it, she said. We saw soft skin and called it weakness. We never asked what soft skin might be for. Cassidy didn't look up right away. When she did, she nudged the tray an inch toward the middle of the table, enough room for 2 forks, if Pipperizer wanted one. Everybody's built for something, she said. Try the cake. It's worth fighting for, apparently.